If you're in a difficult or painful situation in your relationship right now, is it hopeless? Should you give up on your marriage? Hi, I'm Mario Che, and I am a relationship repair expert. I've been helping people save their marriages and create lifelong loves for over a decade. So let's jump right into it. I get a lot of questions about relationships, and here are the top 3 questions that I get. Question number 1, when is enough enough? When should I give up? When should I call it quits is a question I get. 100% black and white answer to that is not until you tried everything. There are 50% divorces in this country. 50% of marriages end in divorce in the first 5 years. 70% of second marriages end in divorce. 80% of third marriages end in divorce. We're not getting better at marriage. We're getting better at divorce. Why is it that way? Well, it's because people give up too quickly. They give up too easily. Listen, no one gets married so that they can get a divorce. But it literally is what we're doing. And here's the reality. This is what happens when we get back out there. We realize that the grass isn't greener on the other side. We realize that it's cold and it's mean in those streets is the reality. And it's hard to find that love again. Find someone that you're compatible with and find someone who's willing to be committed to you and have a lifelong love with you, right? Number 1, go for it with everything you've got. Question number 2, should you stay for your kids? Absolutely, yes. People tell me this all the time. They say, Mario, how could you possibly say that? Well, I say it because that's legacy. When you end it with your partner, there's a much greater likelihood that your children are going to create broken homes as well. There are studies that suggest that. Not just for that reason, but you could actually have and shift that relationship. And that's why I'm going to say the same thing I said again. Don't consider leaving until you tried everything that there is to try. Now, I'm not advocating that you not be happy in a relationship. I'm advocating that you fight for your relationship, you give it everything you've got so that the marriage works for both of you. There are sometimes that there are some incompatibilities, real incompatibilities, like financial incompatibilities. They spend money, you don't. You like to spend money, they don't. They want to do something else with their money. That's one of them. Geographical incompatibilities, like they want to travel the world and you want to travel the world. I know I like to travel. Those are incompatibilities, right? Or lifestyle choices, generally speaking, like wanting to hang out or go out more than the other partner wants to go out. You can actually work those out and get past those, specifically when you're using and you're working in dose. So dose, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. In fact, the reason why we want to do those things is because we want to feel better about ourselves. So if there are some incompatibilities in your relationship in those areas, if you're able to supplement that dopamine, that oxytocin, that serotonin, endorphins, being able to have your partner feel better, to spike that happy hormone in them, that dopamine or that bonding, that serotonin where they feel special when they're around you or feel special about themselves or whatever it may look like, when they feel better about themselves, there's so much more that you can actually get past. You'll be surprised at what we will be able to see past or what we're able to resolve when we're dosing each other and we're feeling good when we're around each other, if that makes sense. And here's the reality. Kids will suffer a lot in a divorce. I've seen the impact of divorce. I've seen it so much so that I don't recommend it for anybody for any reason inside of their relationship. There is a difference between staying together for the kids and giving up your life for your kids. I am not advocating that you give up your life for your kids. I am advocating that you fight for a marriage that you love, a relationship that you love at all costs before you shift that relationship that's going to impact your children. Do it for the kids, because once you create that relationship or that distancing, or you create that break in your relationship, it's going to impact them. All right, number 3, another great reason actually why you should stay in a relationship. Mario, will I regret this? Yes. Let's talk about regrets for a second. 76% of people say that there are things that they didn't do, there are things that they didn't accomplish, that there are things that they wish that they had done that they never did, in their lives. There's a study that was done that showed that 76% of people walked and were in life with regrets. I can absolutely guarantee you that some of those regrets were how they managed their marriage, who they were with, and how they played it out. You're going to be wondering, could I have saved that relationship? If it doesn't go the way that you wanted to, at least you'll know that you gave everything you could to save it. You will walk away, you will wash your hands of it, and you will know that you gave everything you had to it, and you can give it to God, and you can walk away with a clean conscience. The reality of the situation is, unless you give everything you've got to seeing it through, you will probably have regrets, which is why you should give everything you've got. Do every program, do every course, try everything, try another conversation, come back again, find a way to forgive one more time, whatever it may look like. And by the way, I'm not advocating, again, guys, that if there's a threat of harm or death, obviously you need to be out of that situation. Otherwise, fight for your relationship. Solution: how do you fight for your marriage? How do you fight for your relationship? Well, you give it everything you have so you don't have any regrets anymore. Is that you want to create an intention for your relationship, creating what you want the relationship to look like. So most of the time what we do is we create what we don't want it to look like, right? We know that we don't want divorce. We know we don't want separation. We know that we don't want the toxicity in our relationship. That's what we know for sure. Well, instead of doing that, create what you do want. You know, for me in my marriage, we have a loving, nurturing, lifelong partnership. That's what I have in my marriage, and that's what we created. When we began creating loving, nurturing, lifelong partnership, it changed everything. Creating an intention is number one thing that most people don't do. They don't actually create what they want their relationship to look like, and that's the beginning of the journey. Number two, high vibration. You want to make sure that you're always coming in higher than your partner. I don't care what you guys are dealing with. I don't care what they just said. It doesn't matter. Listen, we all get into relationships so that we can actually have a life that's better than the one that we had before. A big part of that is vibration. When we feel better about ourselves when we're around somebody, that's what I'm talking about. So how can you do that? You can walk into the room and smile, for instance. You could just do that. You could just walk in. You could say hello. You could, whatever is showing up in life, you could always find it a little bit better. You can always come in at least a little bit higher than them inside the relationship. Number three, you can start looking for areas where you've been triggering cortisol or stress for your partner. That'd be one of the biggest things that you can do. You can control that for yourself. So if you can look and see, okay, when I do X, Y, and Z, it really just upsets them and I'm continuing creating, that stress, then stop doing that thing. I recently worked with a woman and her husband had an issue with what she wore, her dress. And so the question was, Mario, how do I save my relationship? Well, the first thing I told her to do, I said, stop wearing the clothes that he doesn't like. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating that she dresses like a nun for the rest of her life. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the very first thing that you want to do is you want to stop triggering that stress so that your relationship, you can take down the inflammation. And so now we can begin to build a relationship and have some agreements for the relationship that work. Once she did that, all of a sudden he was less inflamed. We found that he was much less irritable, because that's what he was dealing with. He was very irritable all the time. The irritability went away. He started asking her if she wanted things. They started having sex more, and they actually restored their relationship. He was actually out of the house. He came back to their home, and they're together now. They're happier than they've been in a very, very long time. And one of the things we took out was taking out that stress element. And then, of course, where can I dose my partner? Where can I trigger their dopamine? When I touch them, does it make a difference? Well, then touch them more. Is it dopamine? Do they like it when I tell them nice things about themselves or acknowledge their contribution? Do that more. Is it serotonin? Do they like it when I'm in front of other people and I make them look good in front of others? Well, do that more. Do they give you a great reaction when you are doing things together, exercising, walking, doing different things like that trigger endorphins? Well, do that more. At some point in your relationship, you thought they were so awesome and you wanted to spend time with them because you were dosing each other and you were alleviating that cortisol. You want to get back to those places where you're dosing each other and you're alleviating that cortisol which is going to have them want to come towards you and allow you guys to now forgive the past, be willing to forgive the past, and to create a lifelong love that you really, really do want. If you want to learn how to actually keep the chemistry going, dose your partner, triggering attraction, triggering connection, triggering that desire to forgive the past, then check out my website. I'll link it for you below. I'll see you on the other side.